Bannerlord can be a brutally hard game. Often you're outnumbered and massive armies march against you. Well, in this new series, we're going to work together, friends. What I want you to do is send me your difficult situations that you're either currently encountering in Bannerlord in your campaign, or something that you've dealt with in the past where you're just unable to solve it. I will do my very best to handle these difficult situations. I will share the results on YouTube, provided they have some kind of educational value for people. We will take on these difficult challenges, do some battlefield analysis, and hopefully help you turn around a very, very difficult battle. So join me on this adventure. Please send me your difficult situations. Have a little patience. I don't know how many there are going to be, but I'm willing to take these challenges on for you fellas as we handle your disasters of war. Alright friends, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related, and welcome back again to another episode of our Disasters in War series. We are jumping in again to another fella's campaign. Now this fella has written in before. You'll want to watch part 1 because I don't want to spend too much time talking about it. But this guy has a new kingdom. He's got some financial woes. He's at war with a lot of different kingdoms. 6 kingdoms, in fact, and we're trying to sort all this out here before we return this guy's saved game back to him. Now, when you look at the various different kingdoms that he's at war with, they're all demanding various levels of tribute. And what I generally recommend is if you have plenty of cash, anybody who just wants a small amount of cash, and in this case I would say 1,000 or 2,000, go ahead and just take that, right, in this kind of a situation. Now, most of his kingdoms want a lot of money, right? You could definitely say, let's take peace from Valandia or maybe the Western Empire, but here's the thing, they're way the hell out here. I just don't worry about that very much. To me, those are just like false threats, right? Especially Valandia. They're way off in the distance. I just don't think you need to be worried about that. You want to deal with what's directly in front of you. Now, in the last episode, we defended this castle, but I'm going to give up on it. The bottom line is because of this long strait of water here and the distance between the rest of his holdings and that castle, I don't think it makes sense to try to defend that castle. We defended the first episode almost instantly. There was forces back there sieging. It's hard to reinforce it because of that distance, and I think we're just going to let it go. Instead, we're going to continue to try to pound on the 2 things that are directly in front of us. And what I mean, of course, the 2 kingdoms that are directly in front of us, the Khazate and the Northern Empire. Now, we have peace with the Southern Empire. That's one of the very few kingdoms that we're at peace with, and that's really good, right? Because they're not only in front of us, but Regalia here has a force 3 or 4 times as large as ours. It's okay for us to pay a little bit of money for peace with Regalia, at least for now. At some point or other, we will probably say fuck no. And what I would say I'm mostly looking for is the right opportunity. You want to keep an eye, essentially, on your enemies. In this case, of course, she's a future enemy. They're only at war with Britannia. What I want to see, and you can sort of scoreboard watch down in the corner down here, is the Aserai to declare war on her, or even better, the Northern Empire, or maybe Valandia, right? Once that happens, maybe the Sturgeons, then we can either attack some of her units or just go to the diplomacy menu and kind of see if she's willing to take peace for less than 12,000, at which point we'll declare war. And then check essentially to see how much money she needs for peace. It's a little bit of a gimmick to the system, but it makes sense. She'd be willing to renegotiate those treaties given new conditions. We could even attack some of her locations right away, but I would recommend sticking to what's in front of you. Now, in the last episode, we beat the crap out of the Khazate and the Northern Empire, and we're going to continue to do so. Guys a lot of times express frustration when they become a kingdom. They say, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. Well, one thing you must do is you must be efficient and win battles outnumbered. That's probably the biggest key. Or make sure when you go independent to be your own kingdom, you have 3, 4, 5 cities and 2, 3, 4, 5 castles and lots of money, right? Then you can beat on one opponent at a time. If you don't have good tactics, you're not going to win outnumbered. And you're not going to be able to succeed over and over again in battle like we have so far. So last episode, we defended Yogurtus Castle. I'm just going to take a look at the garrison here. I'm still trying to equalize the field roster that we have here. Bolat gained a level in the last episode. We did assign a new engineering captain. He's got a pretty powerful army, but I think we still have too many infantry for my preference, right? When you look at the army here, he's got 105 infantry. It's starting to get better. 81 cavalry, 180 horse archers, and only 70 ranged units. At some point or other, I would prefer to add, maybe 30 or archers or so. And this is amazing. This castle here has 36 Kongsguard. We're just going to take most of these. These guys are way too expensive to be sitting inside a garrison when we need these guys to be wrecking shop out in the open. In fact, this is part of the reason that this guy has financial woes, right? This guy, Jacob here, I didn't put his email up. We'll try to give you the opportunity here in a minute to see his email. But basically, he has financial issues, and this is a big part of the reason, right? He has an enormous amount of high-end troops inside his cities. I would say 70, 80 troops in a castle is probably sufficient, unless the militia is very small, right? In this case, I think there's still a decent militia here. Now, the other thing we can do is we can put some infantry into some of these castles, right? We can go along our own troops and say, hey, you can have some of these, you can have some of those, and start to even out his army. Let's take a look here. So right now, Yogurus is what I consider a bait castle. What is a bait castle? A bait castle is where there's almost no defenders, but you're going to stay locally around it. The AI is absolutely irresistibly drawn to castles with very few defenders. They will sometimes attack it with single armies. What we want is for them to repeatedly attack it and for us to be able to smash their forces, right? That should be a thing. The other thing, too, though, is that I want to siege and destroy I want to siege and take Saronia, as well as continue to destroy Northern Empire forces. Now, we know the Northern Empire is busy here, right? This is the Northern Empire, sieging Hakun Castle. You want to sort of predict future events here. The Sturgeons, we told them to eat shit on their peace treaty last episode, and that is a concern, Jacob, because at some point or other, the Sturgeons may show up at Amprella or something like that. Right now, I think we have time. The Khazate we just throttled here at Yogurus, so they're going to be sort of licking their wounds. The Northern Empire is probably going to be the biggest problem in this episode. So you could sort of predict what's going to happen and where. If I had to guess, in fact, I would say they're going to come right up into here, right? They've got a bunch of territory down here. They're sieging here. They might go over to Makeb, and they might go to Seratos Castle. We're going to take the offensive, though. We go straight to Saronia here. Yogurus is probably going to be besieged, but unless it's besieged immediately, we're going to try to siege down Saronia. Now, it's a risk, right? Saronia probably has 500, 600, 700, 800 defenders. But of course, with this army, this very powerful army, it's a much stronger army than it looks like on paper. On paper, this army is not that strong, right? It's 600 units, but it's very, very strong units. Maybe it's 550 units. It's a very high-end 550 units. Just doing this to make sure we don't get a bunch of deserters. Going to continue to share some of these troops. Now we've got a bunch of marksmen. Now this army is starting to flesh out to what I consider a much more capable field army. Just again, for percentages, I talk about it from time to time. I think, okay, you're playing a Khazate heavy force. I think 30% horse archers, 40% archers, 15% infantry and cavalry. I think that's a good mix. So really only 30% of sort of tanky type units, 15% on a horse, 15% off their horse. I think that's appropriate, right? The guys who want to have 60% cavalry and 30% infantry and 10% archers, you can do that. Good luck. I've just played hundreds or maybe thousands of hours of Bannerlord. Shit doesn't work, right? It's not as effective as this anyways, and especially in a multitude of situations. Try defending a castle with only cavalry. It just works like shit. All right, so I also want to have our attack dog division here. Make sure he has enough troops for us to loose him on units that are out there and have him capture them, right? We're going to give him some of these high-end Kongsguards. And what we're going to do is basically, anytime there's fucks like this running to the settlement, we don't want that to happen, right? The last thing we want to do here is already 500 in Saronia, so we let him loose like that, and unfortunately the AI is very trappable here, right? This guy's like, oh shit, yeah, I'll chase that guy, right? And we just tell him, come with us, and this guy has managed to trap himself here, right? He's going to get ran down by our cavalry attack dog division, And that guy won't be defending Saronia anytime soon. Now, way too many casualties as usual. I'm kind of a bitch though about complaining about that. I guess I should just shut the hell up. If I'm gonna auto resolve, then I should just accept the fact that we're gonna suffer a lot of casualties. This character that Jacob has is not his primary character. God, we are having an incredible amount of death rather in this campaign. And I went and checked, and the death for all is not activated, so it's wild. Bolat, you would want more tactics than this, right? If you're gonna auto resolve a lot, these do actually matter, right? It's like 10% increase of damage when you confront the enemy. When it says confront the enemy, what they're referring to is the auto resolve. This one right here, 10% damage to your infantry from ranged troops when your troops are sent to confront the enemy. That's referring to auto resolve, right? So he has virtually no perks when it comes to that, right? And that means, of course, you're going to suffer poor results. All right, so that guy's already added to our army. I want to do this kind of fast. First, though, I want to beat this guy. I don't want him to get in. You're not getting in. Maybe he's going to get in. Damn it. No, okay, we stopped him from getting in. Let's run down this fight first. Oh, he wants to fight. Yeah, you're dead, man. Yeah, respect this. Respect your asshole. Look at it. He's outnumbered, or he's not favored in the power bar. You don't see that very often. The AI rarely attacks in a situation like that, but they are here. All right, let's smash this guy quickly. Unfortunately, it's nighttime. Maybe this will be an opportunity for us to do a little RTS mod. I think we will. It's kind of a perfect battlefield for it. Very, very basic how to use horse archers. We will do extremely basic, in fact. All right, we've got hills here. What I mean by hills, we're shooting down on the enemy. Hopefully you guys can see that. There's a little lip there, right? We're going to put cavalry in a line here. We're going to put infantry with this little rock wall, shield wall. We're just going to kind of put a bunch of infantry here in a big mass, right? This cavalry division you can kind of align so that it matches up with those other rocks. We'll fight this entire battle from the air. That way you guys can get a real clear look of the battle. Now we have 107 horse archers in this division. All the time I hear guys are like, how do you use horse archers? Well, let's show you. Let's actually split the horse archers a little bit more. We could put most of the cavalry right there defensively, right? These guys are going to charge, but at the beginning battle, you just let the enemy come to you. And the big thing we're doing here is we're going to pound the enemy at range. We've got archers. Now that we finally have some archers here, we're going to use them. This cavalry and infantry, all we want these guys doing is basically holding that front of the line, right? We're going to let our ranged units work here. Now, we've got some skirmishers, probably. Kind of, sort of. We kind of, sort of have some skirmishers here. Again, we're just going to bracket this side here. It's unlikely the enemy will charge our cavalry from the side, but if they do, that's what we're going to do. Now, we could, realistically, absolutely, at this stage, we could just F1, F4 with these horse archers, but I'll show you what I prefer instead. So we've got our center here and basically these two giant globs of horse archers, right? We've got a little moonlight here. Now, I did say I would fight the whole thing from above. Let's make sure. Okay. Main character here, Bolat, will be controlled by the AI. All we want to do here is just put these guys way out here, right? Put them out to the flanks. That's it. That's really all you're going to do. And of course, you're going to manipulate. You're going to continue to move those guys here. Now, this force attacked us. That means they're forced to come to us, which is a disaster for them, right? Because we have lots of archers, we have horse archers, and look at the power bar, right? The power bar says they should never have attacked in the first place. Anytime you have horse archer superiority, just start moving your guys up, right? They will shoot as the enemy approaches. You want to be mindful of a big cav division here, right? Cavalry does do a decent job against horse archers, but anytime you can sort of pot shot the enemy as they're approaching, take advantage of that. Now, you want to kite. All these cavalrymen are going to start roaring in on our horse archers. Kiting, of course, means simply moving your units away before they get to you. Over here, same thing. We just move these guys up. Now, anybody saying, you know, you're using the RTS, that's an advantage. I'm not doing this for me. Trust me. We can, with the experience level we have, it's probably actually easier for me if I'm down on the ground level. I'm doing this strictly for you guys. So you kite back here, and what you're doing is you're falling back to your support. The enemy's cavalry's charging. Well, the whole time they're charging, they're going to be getting shot by archers, right? Now that your guys are back, you can just position them in a manner so that they're raining down on the enemy. Over here, this cavalry's kind of creeping up on us as their troops move in. Just, again, move them closer to their support. The flanks is key. The big reason you want to be on the flanks, of course, is that the enemy has a lot of shields. All these shields are coming up here through the middle. you just continue to spray arrows kind of to the side of their flanks. Now our horse archers on the side here are going to suffer some losses. It's just fine. One of the things you can do is you can give them this infantry division. You can push those guys up, and that'll sort of give those guys a little bit of meat to help defend this enemy ranks. You can even take this infantry division and just have them charge, and then at least there's something sort of pushing back the enemy. Over here, their cavalry is kind of fucking with our horse archers, and I think it'd be appropriate either to F1, F4, but this is actually what I prefer. And the reason is you're basically ignoring their cavalry and saying, we're not concerned about you. We want to get our horse archers behind all this enemy infantry. Now these guys are charging uphill. They're not really doing any damage, and now you charge with all this infantry. This 1st division, the 2nd division, the 3rd division, all these guys can charge. Meanwhile, of course, right behind them, our horse archers, just spraying them in the back. So the AI is charging uphill. Our troops are happy to slam into them. Our cavalry ran the absolute wrong way. That happens sometimes. But this is what's doing a lot of the killing, right? You have comms guards and other elite troops just firing flaming arrows into the back of the enemy. And that's really about all we needed to do in this battle. I mean, this is going to be, kind of a brawl there in the center. But it's these horse archers doing the damage. And you see, there's kind of carnage as they deal with the occasional cavalry that charges through here. The reason this works is that they're shooting the enemy in the back, number one. More importantly, though, they're close. These guys are doing a lot of damage because they're shooting the enemy very close. It's going to do mega damage, right? If your horse archers, like a lot of people will charge with their horse archers and they'll be kind of way out here. It's better to have them like right behind the units that you want them to kill. In this case, the enemy vanguard. The enemy has all but melted away here. And what is that, 110 losses, 120 losses, and the enemy just melts away. Now, that's another 50 dead, right? So we are suffering a little bit of a war of attrition here. Collectively, that's going to be the biggest problem you face in a campaign like this. And that is why the whole time I've been advocating you recruit every single troop, right? Every single village, you tell them, give me your sons. Your guys are fighting for me tonight, whether they want to or not, right? Troops are the most important thing. Troops and money, right? If you don't have those two things at this stage, you're in a bad way. All right. 300 defenders inside. Now, a lot of guys will say, oh, starve the city, do this and that. We can't afford to, right? We've got 3 different locations up here, 4 different locations up here. Cerratos is particularly vulnerable because it's a level 1 wall. Look in the center there, and 150 defenders. That's probably, if I had to guess, the most likely attack target by the enemy. They're not going to attack a city with 500 defenders. Now, this is very bad at Amprella. I didn't actually notice this. Look at the loyalty. The loyalty is in a stage where the city could rebel, but the good news is it is going up, right? So we're going to just hope and pray that the next few days that gets up to 25. If that rebels, Jacob, apologies. That's all I can say. Now, we don't have any other units here, right? You don't have any minor clans. I did see a Jawal, and there was one of the Beni Zalal nearby. Let's see if these guys hate you. At this stage, that's the biggest problem that you're dealing with, Jacob. And this is not a good sign. Okay. Well, they're dying in battle. It's not. No. Look at how red-handed he is here, too. If I was the police, I would just say you're indicted on murder charges here. Here we go. Sathane of the Jawal has been taken prisoner by Balat. That's you, Jacob. 1091. He was executed in 1091. Makes me wonder how many. He says he was never seen before. Yeah, well, his body was very efficiently buried. We got Jacob the mass murderer here. And what was the relation, right? They're not joining, right? This is a problem. So that's part of the reason you're having a difficult campaign. But the rule of thumb, I think it was Marcus Aurelius, one of the Roman emperors, who said it. You want to either treat your enemies extremely leniently or annihilate them down to the last man. At this stage, you're left to that second of the two equations there, right? You haven't treated your enemy leniently, and so you're going to have problems. Now, speaking of problems, this is a problem for a couple reasons. We're in a hurry. We have at least our siege guy going here. I gotta regather myself here before we get captured like a bitch. Okay, at least we have our specialized engineer, but this guy has no experience. So it's like we're just throwing him in here, and we're like, we need you to hurry today. You're really put with two bad choices here at this situation. A lot of people, of course, are conflustered by this. In an enemy defense situation like this, they already have all of the catapults just locked and loaded. They have 2 fire catapults and 2 regular catapults. To siege this without destroying those is going to be extraordinarily bloody. They have more defenders inside than we have attackers, right? When you add up all the different equations here, and they just took Hakoon Castle, that means they're coming, right? We're going to get troops heading our way. When you add up the equations here, you're really reduced to one of 2 lousy choices. You either build siege, which is very time consuming. I mean, we're talking, you won't take this city until autumn 15, maybe? You either build siege, or you siege it with just a siege tower and a siege ram, or maybe just a siege ram and hope they don't destroy your ram, but they probably will. Or, those are your 2 choices, or you just leave, right? That's why cities are hard to take with small armies. The speed that you build everything from your siege camp to the trebuchets is affected by your army size, as is the defenders. They're going to be able to rebuild these catapults very quickly because they have lots of guys in there sort of scurrying around on the walls, right? This is a bad situation for you. The death for all mod, if it's not activated here, I am like blown away. There is a death like every other day in this campaign. So hopefully we're not irreversibly altering your campaign. If it's random, it's a sure hell of a lot of deaths. And we may not even get to the stage where we siege here, right? The Northern Empire is probably going to be attacking. Oh shit. All right, so we've got our first real gnarly situation here. Let's pause. Let's talk about this. 200 cavalry. You're not totally fucked here, but you're pretty close to fucked. One way or the other, we're fucked here. And what I mean by that is these armies are going to chase us and they're going to siege us. Now, common sense would say just go to Yogurus, right? Just fall back to Yogurus Castle and defend there. It's 460 here. What I think you do is actually fight these armies separately. A lot of guys can't see it. I see it right away. This secondary army is absolutely ghetto. But if you have to fight these together, you're going to get cooked. One at a time, possible. Together, completely cooked. So we're going to leave. But what you want to do is you want to initiate combat with that 461 immediately, or else you're a fucking dead man. Now, if we can't do that, we're going to have to run. The problem with running... Let's see if we can engage him. Oh shit, now we got mega problems, right? Now it's definitely time to run. There is a huge amount of Northern Empire forces coming. There's a little tiny army on top of it. That means we're going to get captured at some point. Or more accurately, we're going to get caught by these armies, right? They're boring in, and this is a lot. Now, if we're lucky, we'll make it to Yogurus, right? We'll speed this up a little bit. This is actually maybe viable too. These 2 smaller armies are seeking to attack, and they're ditching this other big force, right? Let's see what we do here. How much is that? 800, 1,000. The 1,000 is weak. These guys are closing, so we're going to get combat here no matter what. I think, maybe. All right, well, this is kind of cheese, but they will probably siege, right? They'll wait for this guy to come in, and then the rest of them will come in and siege. Maybe not. All right, now we're actually going to take our chances here. So I don't want to do it at nighttime, but when you get a chance to destroy an army like this, look at this. This is awesome. Running. This guy's running from us. I talked about it earlier in this episode. This is why you want to have a very powerful small army. Not only do we control initiative here, this guy basically can't run away from us, but he's running. What does that tell you? That tells you that this army is terrified of our powerful force here. That is the benefit of having a bunch of high-end troops like this. Now, we still got to be efficient, right? What is this? Or efficient. What is this? 800 and something outside here, right? This is still not going to be a cakewalk, and they're probably going to be coming our way. The good news is we could probably slip into Yogura's castle, right? So slam this force here. Say we have 20 survivors, right? Say it's very close. It's not going to be because we have tactics and elite troops. But say we did, we would just slide into Yogura's castle. That's part of the reason you fall back. Let's see how efficient we can be here. And again, let's try some relatively simple tactics. I wish it wasn't the same battlefield, but I can't control this shit. It is a highly advantageous spot. I mean, it's extraordinarily so. If we can get to that lower ridge, it actually functions as a peekaboo ridge on top of all the other advantages here. So we'll see kind of how far back the enemy is. You can't see the enemy. Sometimes they appear, sometimes they don't. I don't know what affects that, by the way. I've still never done enough testing. It's possible that high scouting skill shows you the enemy before the battle. So all the units are pretty much set here. I'm not going to have to do too much adjusting. Let's see, what's this guy good for? He can just go into any old division. The divisions are pretty well set up. Okay, so sort of a standardized setup here. Let's go ahead and just set it up like I would normally. Again, we're going to hold the high ground here. First, second, third. In fact, you can just put all of your infantry here and your cavalry. Right? The key to this battle is going to be flanking with horse archers. You know what? I'm going to send our 2nd Division out there. I don't do that very often, but we'll do it in this case. We're going to give our cav divisions a nice little flanking cav protection here. We'll set up, we've got 3 different infantry divisions that we can set up here in the center of the battlefield to kind of make an iron wall against the enemy, and then archers and crossbow behind them. On this other flank here, we're going to try to really pound the enemy with horse archers, but I want to give them a little bit of cav protection. See that line of green dots there? That'll be a shield wall cavalry division once they get set up here. Now in the front, all you're doing is shield walling those 3 different infantry divisions. And what that does is it makes those guys really thickly jammed up there. That, of course, is going to make it very difficult for enemy to penetrate that, right? For enemy forces to penetrate. Now, like I've talked about before, we're actually going to get horse archers behind the enemy here. You can see the death spam already looks terrific. Right? These various different units you have are just raking the enemy. I've got one group of horse archers going behind the enemy here. Now this line of cavalry here is sacrificial. I talked about them just a second ago. We're using them here. I just want them absorbing attention, absorbing arrows, absorbing javelins that might go towards your horse archers. Your horse archers are doing the killing here. In fact, the enemy's kind of harassing our archers up there. That's okay. The horse archers are doing the killing. When you're playing Khazate, everything else is secondary to your horse archers, right? Even your archer divisions in this instance. In the last episode, I talked all about we need more archers, we need more archers. Well, you still ultimately have horse archers, right? And so as long as you have horse archers, you have archers. They just happen to be on a horse here. So these other archers here are helping, but this is where you're doing your main damage from. Now the enemy's haplessly chasing your horse archers. It looks pretty pathetic, actually. They're just sort of they're running in a giant shield wall against horse archers. I mean, they might as well fucking try to catch the moon. Reach out and maybe you guys can grab the moon. If you just run a little faster, maybe you guys can catch the moon. You can reach out with your fucking big stupid hands and perhaps you guys can catch it. No? Oh, you guys didn't catch it? Oh, all right, well, now we're going to get horse archers behind you guys. And this is really what you want to be doing with horse archers. Now, you can absolutely just F1, F4. Horse archers do a pretty decent job of sort of cycling and circling and stuff like that, but I prefer this manual control. You can see what a pickle the enemy's in here, right? And if you get comfortable with your field command, you'll be able to get off your horse and just participate, right? In fact, we need a little bit of crossbow skill. I've got this 2nd Division here. We can actually give myself a little bit of protection while we just smoke some of their crossbow here. I've got a crossbow division, and their poor infantry division is caught. They have horse archers on both flanks. They have archers on the other side. We're not even using our infantry, right? We're going to use them for the coup de grace. Over here, there's sort of, the infantry is like, what do we charge, boss? There's got to be somebody we can charge. They're kind of charging our 2nd Cav division here. The key is we control the initiative here, right? We have all the power in this battle. The enemy's haplessly in the middle here being scorched. Now we can start to move our infantry in. trying to attack your character, dude. Oh, they're coming towards one of our units here, and we're just moving back. Right? Now, this kind of battlefield awareness, of course, takes practice. I'm not suggesting, Jacob, you're going to be able just to roll out and buy the game last week and now do it this week. But eventually, this kind of stuff will get easy. The enemy got melted there. Now, we want to prepare for the next wave. Right? They're going to have more troops. In fact, you can see the reinforcements coming in over the top of the ridge. For now, we'll just put our units out here in the valley and anticipate their arrival. The infantry we charged with, why? Because the enemy was vulnerable, right? When they get to a state where 3/4 of their troops are shot full of arrows, you can charge with your infantry. Their troops are in disarray, right? All the guys have been shot 3 or 4 times. They got a handful of archers that are still sort of in here in the valley. And then you just reset, right? Let's just call the 1st, 3rd, and 6th to me. We'll get these horse archers. And notice the white bar. I don't mention this very often. I still, to this day, I appreciate the fellows on the channel that have taught me this stuff. That tells you how much ammo they have. Look at that underneath, that 84, right? That white bar where it's most of the way sort of, there's a bar at the bottom, right? And there's a small amount of white. All of the archers at this stage are low on ammo. That represents how much ammo that unit has. So just as an example, this division has less ammo than that division. Hopefully you guys understand that. Right now it's showing ammo in your archer divisions because there's an archer because there's an archer mixed in. You have an archer captain actually mixed in with that infantry. That's why it's doing that. Now, this infantry here is going to, it's actually peasants. These guys are going to run up here and just haplessly sort of swing their trowel and whatnot at this infantry. At this stage, your cavalry can definitely be told to charge. You don't need a whole lot of finesse at this stage, right? We won the battle in the first 2 minutes of this battle. They're coming up here haplessly and attacking your comms guards and shit like that. You might as well just charge at these guys. And the enemy is just going to instant die here, right? They just get steamrolled. We can't stop them, right? And trigger all of your normal cues here at the end of a battle. Look at these guys. They want to die too. You could have gone back to your hovel, dude. Now instead you guys get chopped down. And the beauty of this, of course, is that the Northern Empire here, due to mediocre AI, allowed us to fight them in what's called in detail, sort of one at a time, instead of staying together, where their 1,900 troops might have had a chance to defeat Jacob's army here. Instead, they get liquidated without really hurting our army. In fact, once you count the upgrades that we're going to get from this battle, and there are going to be plenty, I think the net effect of this kind of a battle for an army like yours, Jacob, is positive, right? In other words, you're going to get so many units that actually get stronger. This is what guys talk about when they're saying the snowball effect, right? Your army just across the board improves. Anybody that was a tier 4 or 5 horse archer, they're now a cons guard. You know, your infantry, every single guy got a kill. Your archers all got a kill. And what do we have here? 60 losses, maybe? Against 1,000, right? It's just a complete disaster massacre. 60, sorry. 21, right? It's just a complete shredding. Now we'll speed this shit up and it's on to the next challenge. This is why you want a powerful field army, right? When I was picking up those cons guards from Yoguris, you're creating a target for Yoguris, not really intentionally, but more importantly, you're creating a doom stack, right? Your own army, especially with tactics, is just a world-destroying machine. I mean, they got completely pulverized. Now, those other armies at this stage are probably not real eager to attack us, right? We want to actually attack them, right? With that few losses, with, what did we get, 14, 16 deaths, something like that. We're very eager to face them as well, right? We would love more combat in this episode. We get a little autosave here. And frankly, we want combat, right? Knowing that their forces are this weak. In fact, if these guys want to attack, we're very happy to, right? We just know they have no chance. You want to head straight into the Dragon's Den here. Now, once these forces are destroyed, we could probably get a peace treaty already, right? Looks like they're hesitantly going to attack. It's like a couple sophomores challenging a varsity wrestler, right? These two guys are like, if we fight them together, we can take them. No, you can't. You're going to get pulverized. I'm trying to think if there's a different way for us to fight this so it's a little bit more interesting, or maybe we'll just go really fast here. Of course, we could F1, F3 this battle. There's no question. At least we're in a different spot here. Let's use a little reverse slope defense, and we'll use a sort of lazier approach to this battle. We're going to spread out our archers here in big, long, thin lines. I didn't actually see if they have a bunch of cavalry. I suppose we should pay some attention to that. what we'll do here is rush troops up and basically just make squares. This is the lazy man version of this, right? To minimize casualties. We'll try to make this episode sort of an all-inclusive. So 2nd, 3rd Division. We've got Cavs for the wings. We're just going to use our Cavs almost strictly defensively. In other words, our Cav divisions. Let's put the 7th over here, just like we've done before. The 8th over here, and super easy style, right? All we're going to do here, see that line there? Oops, we'll slow it down. We just want troops moved up. So 1st Division, 3rd Division, 6th Division, 2nd Division of Cavalry, just in a line to sort of help our flank here. Big, long spread lines for our horse archers. Now, this is not going to be as effective as the last battle because we're not going to do a bunch of fancy flanking and stuff like that. But this should still definitely reveal good results. Now, our 6th Division is a mixed division somehow. I guess we have a companion in there that is sort of altering the division. So there's only 27 guys in this first, and we're just going to square them towards the center of the battlefield. In fact, let's just go ahead and make one big square. Super easy, super lazy. It's important, by the way, to get that square continuity before you send it in on the enemy. So what we're going to do here is actually bring this square back so that those guys have a chance to all form together, right? If possible, you want that square built up before the enemy cavalry starts pouring in, right? It'll just be a lot more defendable if they're already all together, right? If they're sort of scurrying around the battlefield and the enemy sends in a wave of heavy cavalry like this, those guys are really going to take some serious losses. Now, it looks bad. Right? It looks chaotic. The enemy's got a gigantic amount of troops here. Trust me, it's not going to be bad. And the main reason is that we have these horse archers, but we have far better troops, right? That's why we're favored, or at least significantly likely to win this battle. Now, the 1st Division is just there, right? Now, you just want them sitting in that square. And honestly, you can just fast forward at this stage, right? I still recommend you attack with your cavalry now. Your cavalry that's been standing there has been bracing for this at this stage. You can also charge with your horse archer divisions. What that'll do is, of course, it'll prevent these guys. In this case, we'll do engage, or you know what? They're fine actually, right where they are. Let's engage with this 8th Corps. What that'll do is that'll start making these guys kite a little bit. They will do basically what the AI does, which is sort of kite and circle. Now, if they do incredibly dumb shit like this, control them, right? These guys are literally running off the map. Let's go ahead and just put them in a much better formation. That would be spread out, sort of off to the enemy's flank like that. That way, they're all kind of shooting at the enemy's flank, and they will just sort of spray bullets across the battlefield. Now, we still need that crossbow skill, I think, right? Look at that positioning they have now, right? They're just in a big long line. Yeah, the archers are going to shoot some of them, sure. That's definitely a likelihood, right? But they're also spraying the shit out of the enemy. They have a very advantageous spot. That square is probably about destroyed by this stage. 28 guys, right? Because it's bearing the brunt of the whole enemy force. And a square is strong, but it's not invulnerable, right? It's not like it just can't be killed at all. It'll be worn down eventually. It doesn't matter, though. This battle is way over. Right? The enemy's being scorched, and we have better troops, for sure. Guys are getting fucking just trucked. Ugh. The AI also, it's just not, it's not very adaptable. I'm trying to get you like one more kill because I think he's still like at like 174 or whatever on his crossbow skill. You really want to get that crossbow skill boosted up here. And we'll just speed this battle along here. This battle is already over. Now it's just a matter of making sure your character doesn't get killed. Although we've turned those settings off, so it doesn't really matter too much, right? Yeah, a little F1, F3 at the end of this battle here doesn't matter too much. I think the AI is just routing off the battlefield, right? It sure looks like it. They're running sideways. It's never a good thing. Well, they just charged. They're hoping to make it close. They're not gonna, of course. All they're doing at this state is weakening our army, which is a problem, right? It's going to make the siege challenging. There's even a chance we lose the siege because we're not being super efficient here. But we'll take that chance, right? In a siege, you can back off, right? We'll take a chance that we lose the siege, intentionally trying this siege at a much harder much harder difficulty, right? If I was playing this campaign for like $10,000 in some tournament, what I would have done in this battle is fight it the same way I fought the other one. I wanted to give you guys the very easy mode tactic. Trying to be an all-service channel here. There are some guys that can't handle all the kiting we did in the previous episode. I completely understand. All right, let's speed through this shit. And again, you know, manageable losses. 155. We got 200 troops healthy. Now 200 is probably light to attack the city, but don't forget we're gonna have a lot of troops that heal up in between, right? We suffered quite a few injuries in that battle against 1,000. I don't know how many forces are left out of that, but we'll probably be able to siege the city with almost 400, and I think that will suffice. And the net result of all this is we now have like the entire Northern Empire basically following your army, Jacob. It's just a giant train of nobles. What is that? 4 or 5 major Northern Empire forces that have been destroyed. They're starting to run out of troops. Now, granted, you have that strength and AI mod, so they're going to recoup pretty quickly, but the net result is positive for you. Now, we got to get to this city here. I forgot we kind of ran away the opposite direction. Yeah, we must have. I was sure that it wasn't activated. Apologies here. We're causing some carnage within your campaign, but ultimately, hopefully that's all right. We are going to make 2 or 3 save games for you, Jacob, so if it's too much death in this episode from the Death for All mod, I guess you can reload one of the previous save games. It's kind of a snafu at this stage. Pandora's box is opened. All right, let's try this all over again. Now, the only thing that would make me leave in a hurry is one of our 2 cities being sieged. I was hesitant to say that because there's definitely a chance that in fact, like without me even noticing, I don't know if you just saw it at the bottom there, but it just said Cerato's castle, I think, was given to the Khazate. So without me even noticing, we lost one of your castles. The good news, though, is that was the weakest castle. It'll be easily recoverable. Nobles are dying left and right here. What the hell setting do we have it on? Must be set on nuclear deaths. I think it's the same settings we have for our epic Valandian campaign. Apologies at this stage. I swore I verified it was off, but obviously not. There's guys dying at an incredible rate. The big question now is whether we can siege this city down before the Khazate siege one of our 2 cities, right? I think we can, but it's going to be close. We want to put these in reserve here. We're probably not going to be done with this. In fact, Makeb is just went under siege. We're really pinched for time here. This is becoming very challenging. Let me see what I want to do here. Let's take a peek. Makeb's garrison, 200. It is a good garrison, right? There's 37 dark hands there. I think there was a couple hundred militia there. Where can you see that? Let's see. Right here, I think you can see it. $246. So we probably have now Jogura's castle. We probably have until the 1st of winter to get there. So we're really pressed for time here. I'm starting to wonder if I should just break off here and head up there. The good news is that at this stage, even though we can't get peace while we're in siege, the Northern Empire here, I don't know what this treaty is going to be because it doesn't show at this stage. You can't do it while you're in a siege. But I'm pretty sure they're going to be like, okay, peace, we'll take peace, right? Because we've really given them a black eye in this episode. Let's see if we can do this quickly here. We've got your engineer going. The problem is, though, is that he's just not that high a level, so the catapults are not going to do that much damage. It's taking forever to build these catapults. Let's see here. There's even a small chance that before we get this siege on, the Northern Empire attacks us again. We're obviously very thin for resources here. And it is taking amazingly long. I think we're going to go as soon as that ram is built, and this looks even reasonably close. Let's see if we can tell. We're probably going to lose Yoguris too, right? We're very much treading water here overall, but the net effect, hopefully, is that some of these peace treaties do get better. Let's see, where am I looking at here? Parties. You can actually tell if it's being sieged right in here. This number will start to change. I don't know if the developers intended on that, but Mekeb is not yet being sieged. We have time still to pull this off, even though it looks like we're sort of out of time. I want this fire catapult destroyed, and I want that battering ram up. If we can get that to happen here, especially before dark, we're going to launch this siege. Now, of course, you have no control over wherever these trebuchets fire. They just fire randomly, and they're doing dipshittery stuff here, right? They're attacking the wall, which is literally the worst thing they could do. I want them to attack anything except the wall, right? These guys need to be destroying the fire catapults. They're not. The only positive thing you could say at this stage is that we can probably build a ram before morning time. This trebuchet is almost down. Destroy this catapult, you stupid assholes. They're not going to manage. So we're going to have to wait until morning. Ballista, ballista, catapult, catapult down. Ballista, ballista. We're going to go right before this fire catapult is built. All right, now let's take a look at Amprella here. Let's see how much, not Amprella, at Mekeb. So Mekeb still is not being sieged. Yoguris is going to go. Your cities are what matter, though. Your cities, 600, 700, 800 defenders, right? In this case, it's 450. Your cities are your revenue generators. The castles can be taken very quickly. It's your cities that matter. We need to launch this assault right here. We don't have a huge amount of troops, and here's a bigger problem. We're not going to be able to put a huge garrison inside this city, right? We don't have a bunch of troops, right? I would love to put 200 troops in here, then head north. We'll probably have to leave it to about 100. Now, this is nice. We can finally reload any horse or any crossbow on horse. Let's see if our little engineering guy is starting to get some skill. This is a nice one, right? You want your siege weapons to be more accurate. I've talked about it. We're going to continue to push your engineer, right? You need a good engineer. In this case, this guy is going to be doing a lot of work. Anytime that you enter the independent stage, you make your own kingdom, you are going to be sieging a lot. All right, let's see if we can do this with, you know, maybe 80 or 100 casualties. We need to limit our casualties here. Now, if you're looking at this whole picture saying, holy shit, this seems hard. Man, you're doing all this micromanaging and all of this, and you're still barely gaining any ground. You're right. And I would say that is because this is a very bad situation. You do not want to be in a situation where you declare independence this early. I haven't really said it, and I don't want to mean it in a negative way, but this fella definitely wasn't ready for independence. Most guys will come to the channel and they'll say, you want 2, 3, 4 cities, 2, 3 castles before you go independent. You want $1 million in gold, stuff like that. He definitely didn't have that, right? He had, well, I don't know how much gold he had, but he didn't have lots and lots of resources when he went independent. Worse than that, he chose kind of a difficult situation right in the middle of huge, powerful kingdoms. That's not something I talk about a lot on the channel. You really do want your initial kingdom to be kind of tucked away, where there's 1, maybe 2 obvious kingdoms that are going to attack you. When you're in a situation where you're surrounded by 4 or 5 hostile countries that are all much bigger than you, you're really asking for it. And of course, you see the results here. Now, it's great for the channel, right? Because this is still a recoverable position, a recoverable situation. But man, is it hard, right? This is about one of the hardest challenges we've had. And to me, it's mostly a function of time, right? This is not an insurmountable situation. It's just going to be very difficult, right? It's going to be slow. It's going to be very difficult to recover this situation. Which division are you guys here? I'm going to have the 7th Division charge. I want these infantrymen getting up those ladders. We're going to go up there pretty quickly. The good thing here is we have massive archer superiority, right? We're going to suffer a few losses as an occasional militia gets a shot in on us, but man, do we have an advantage here. Before we get on the walls especially, the enemy is going to be scorched. I won't be surprised if we have an 8-to-1 or a 10-to-1 kill ratio by the time we really start seeing combat on the walls. Of course, your job is especially Khans Guards, Fiend Champs, Sergeant Crossbow. You're targeting the strongest archers. Right. Those are the guys that are killing your troops. You're not really worried about the militia. Of course, you obviously don't want them to just fire away at you also. All right, up we go here. Let's kind of speed through this battle. We have far superior troops, even though, you know, they have a lot of defenders inside the city, we should still be able to do this. Now, fortunately, the AI is being really dumb here, right? It's like just holding a line there instead of actually attacking. At least these guys are fending somewhat decently. Get some crossbow work here on these sons of bitches. Sort of inevitable. Well, they'd start routing, right? These are lower level troops and they're being butchered. Definitely some of the worst acting in the whole game. I'm coming for you! It sounds like an angry ex-wife or something like that who's coming for her Alamo payment. I'm coming for that Alamo payment, you son of a bitch! You asked for a beer one too many times with that gal. You got a furious wife going on there. I'm coming for you! And the city just cratering here to your elite army. This is, again, why I illustrate and why I suggested earlier, stack your own army, right? Just simply blow your way through all these defenders. Their whole force just routed, right? Like, your character coming in here with her battle axe, maybe they heard her, I'm coming for you! And they're all like, fuck this. We got a crazy ex-wife. I'm out of here. All these forces are fleeing. We're overrun! Now look at how badly they ran. I mean, it's bad. All right, let's speed this along here too. We got a little bit of a race, but we should be able to make it to Makeb pretty easily. What you're really hoping for at this stage is a gift. At one of these, or in one of these battles, you're hoping an enemy force has 126 prisoners, 96, something like that. Some big gift of troops, right? Because we are suffering the slow rate of attrition here. Our army of, what do we have, 5 something when we headed this direction. Now it's down to 380. This is very unfortunate here because I think I have to attack. I don't know why this is happening. You don't see this very often. I think it's just this final stage, right? Why would there be 122? I think, yeah, okay, so they really only have 26 troops. It's more of a misnomer here that they have that many troops. This will be quick. We'll just speed through this. We'll sit on our future throne here. Now, that Northern Empire force, we need to deal with them, right? We're not about to head north to help Makeb City and just give them back their castle, right? So what are we going to continue to do here? We're going to trap that force. You can watch this pathetic militia here get butchered. You have to deal with it. Anytime that you're in a situation where you can destroy enemy troops, it's worth spending half a day to chase them down, send out your little attack dog at them, make sure it happens, relatively efficiently for your side, and move on. We need to continue to just plow through enemy forces here with efficiency. And again, no prisoners. Really suffering from that part, right? At some point or other, usually in a situation like this, you get some prisoners. And usually prisoners come from an ally, or maybe even not an ally, but a neutral enemy that gets a bunch of their troops captured, and then you destroy the force that captured them. That's not happening here, right? I don't know if we've gotten anything more than a few prisoners the whole time. Fortunately, there was a few decent troops in there, and I say fortunately because we really need them at this stage, right? Now, money, you're in a good position here, but I would actually recommend you keep all of these guys prisoner. You could toss them in the dungeon, right? You might be able to just keep them safer in the dungeon here. There is a militia in a situation like this, and your troops did put some forces in there, but those troops aren't free. They come out of your army, right? So I tend to scan through here and say, you know what? I'm not leaving a bunch of cons guards. I might leave some other troops, but there's no way I can afford to leave cons guards. The reality is that we have to go north, gather reinforcements, and come back here. There's just no way that we can leave this city with 80 defenders, even after we destroy this force, and we're going to destroy this force. Now, before we leave, we're going to do the old money thing, right? We're going to go in here and say, in fact, we'll sell this grain. This grain will really help because that'll prevent it from being starved in a siege situation. But we're we're really still desperate for money. So every single market, you're just all of this shit, right? You're selling every single trinket that'll give you the maximum gold in that location. About the only thing you're buying at this stage is some beer for your dudes, right? The city doesn't really use the beer for food, a very small effect. You're better off using it yourself. So we already recruited troops. There's 200 defenders there, right? That's not going to last very long. The reality is that we have to get up north, get some troops from Amprella, right? That's the obvious location where there's an excess of garrison. Now, Makeb, we're going to make it there, right? They are sieging, right? They're starting to build siege weapons, but you can just tell from the distancing, we're going to make it there, and that's what's critical. Now, Yoguris, we're not going to make it there, right? 50, they're already actively sieging it down. It's simply going to fall. That's a casualty of war, right? Now, this guy here, we want to make sure, again, that he can chase down this army. Should be pretty quick, but we want to make sure he has some cavalry here. I like to give him 80 to 100, something in that range, because this Northern Empire force is going to run. I think. Yeah, I don't think they're going to attack us. Whoops. I don't remember doing that quest. We're failing all your quests, Jacob. It's not called Quest Enlightenment, sorry. So I think we'll be able to run down this guy on our own. 2.9, 3.8. No matter what, it's going to disorganize us. Now, it's another situation where you're probably better off fighting this, but let's just watch the horrific casualties here. I mean, that is outrageous, right? 120 casualties. Another situation where in your own campaign, like in a desperate moment, definitely fight that battle. It's good practice for you, right? Unless you're to the stage where you're just crushing everything in sight. And then, of course, you're not sending in your save game. Now, the benefit here, of course, is I don't waste your fellow's time with another slaughter in the open field of this pathetic Western Empire force, or Northern Empire force. Now, okay, so Saronia, or Yoguris just fell, right? That means there's Khazate forces here. If there's 1,500 or something like that, we're in trouble. Saronia will probably last, if I had to guess, because that's next, right? You can basically see the conveyor belt here. And I want this Khazate force to attack us as well, right? And you guys are starting to get the theme. When you have a powerful army, you welcome combat. Even though we just took a beating with that auto reserve, we still want this 500 Khazate to attack. I don't think they will. You can tell they're hesitant. They look like a sophomore, again, trying to ask that senior out. They're not sure. Well, we're not about to let these bitches get out of here, right? Bad decision. Come with us. Attack dog. Sent out. Sick him. Now he's running. This coward. Normally that doesn't happen. Well, and these guys caught us without him. So this is actually interesting, right? Because we're missing this 79 troops. I still don't think it's going to be a serious challenge here, but they're going to have their own horse archers, right? They're going to have, well, they only have 105, kind of a weak horse archer crew. I apologize for the repetitive battlefields. Sometimes this happens, right? Both in a campaign and also just in general, right? This is the very same one that we started on. The only thing that's different here is a bunch of snow. The one piece of really good news here is they attacked us, right? So we're going to form a defensive knot here on this high ridge. We're going to be able to flank the shit out of them with horse archers. Our horse archers outnumber them at this stage, right? We have far more horse archers. Infantry, of course, were shield walling. Cavalry were shield walling. All right, and we'll speed through this some, but obviously it's a battle that we can't afford to lose. Now that ridge there can function as a peekaboo ridge, right? We talk about this with archers. It works with horse archers too, right? The enemy's coming up to attack our troops. That ridge there, they have to come over that ridge to shoot our troops, right? Now they may just come straight through the valley, and if that's the case, that'll be good for us as well. Here they come. They have a lot of infantry, so they're just going to come headlong right at us. This dipshit here. Wah! I think we got one loaded shot, right? You want a headshot? The flag dipshit's coming up. Ooh, ah! Just sounds like it hurts. And the worst part about this is that they're coming in sort of broken and piecemeal. That's even worse. At least you would like them to come in collective together. Instead, it just looks like a giant lot of Black Friday shoppers just coming in this ugly defensive pile of shit. They're getting drilled by javelins. And it's, you know, it's not going to work for the AI here. They'll inflict some losses, right? And we do want to limit losses here. That's why we're fighting this battle out. But it's still not a good situation for the AI. All right, let's slide in horse archers behind them. We talked about that before, of course. Now, they've got a lot of infantry boring straight down the center, and we have some weak-ass troops in some of our divisions. So we want to kite in this instance, right? We're just going to start bringing these units back. The cavalry will just put right in front of these guys, right? That way they have a little bit of protection there for the archers. Where are we killing, though, right? We've talked about it a couple, 3 times now already. You're killing here with your horse archers. The enemy has all this fodder horse archers, right? The longer this battle goes on, the more these guys are going to get shot off their horses. Now, we still need to attack with our infantry, right? We have powerful infantry. We want to use them. The enemy has powerful infantry too, but we want to delay that, right? The longer that our units are basically shooting and killing that infantry, the better, right? Because it's going to be softening it. Now, they charged with cavalry. I don't know if you guys can see it up there. Their cavalry line hit ours. Their infantry, though, is the one that we're really laying waste to right there. Again, they're in the center of the valley here being mauled. They're not really reaching any targets. They're just sort of running around wildly trying to look for a target. And this is where we're doing our damage, right? Our elite high-end horse archers here are circling. Our other horse archer division is just shooting them in the back. Now, they really should just straight charge our archers and infantry, but the AI doesn't always do what they really should do. And oftentimes, in fact, they do the opposite. I'm going to join our troops here. Now, those archers are a pain over there. They have 55 archers. For sure, those guys are causing significant losses to us. In come our recruits. And the war of attrition is really going to start getting to our army here, right? Our different units are worn down. We've now left garrisons at 2 or 3 different locations. We've fought, I don't know, 5 or 6 battles kind of on end without getting reinforcements. We haven't gotten any prisoners anywhere. In fact, we finally got cut down there. At this stage, definitely F1 and F3 is appropriate, right? Those horse archers can start cycling. You get a little look at your characters, you know, with the old RTS mod. This is beneficial at times, and at least we can do a little bit of killing here. But we're going to end up with maybe 100 troops out of this battle. Right? This is not a battle that we're going to have a lot of troops left afterwards. Critically, though, another enemy to force that's destroyed. Right? This is 6, 7, I don't know, 3 or 4 Khazate forces, 3 or 4 Northern Empire forces, and it's not clean by any stretch, right? 79 versus 96. Maybe we'll have 80 troops after they rout. But victory is victory, right? This archer division definitely did major damage to us. Maybe I should have prioritized, you know, attacking them a little bit more. But coulda, woulda, shoulda, didn't do you any good, as my wife will say. Now, so far, I've had a comfort level in this campaign. What I mean by that is I haven't been too worried about losing these battles. This battle, it was starting to feel a little bit ticklish. Now we are at risk. Now we are very much at risk. If another big force of 600 looms up, we're in deep shit, right? At this stage, we're very much desperate to get back to the homeland, back to our castle. It's an Amprella, right, where there's 400 in the garrison. That, to us, is a big glass of lemonade to a very thirsty man, right? We've got an autosave here. I think I am going to break it off here, right? We will make it there. I will actually be able to swing over to Amprella, I think, and get troops. Then, of course, we have to get back to Saronia. And you see the juggling game at this stage, too, right? Of course, we can very quickly here, we can... Yeah, we're the owner. We're not giving this city away to our little tiny clan yet. I'll take all of the cities until you have 4 or 5, right? Don't give your clan cities until you have 6, 7 cities, couple 3 castles. Let's take a glance here. So the Aserai are becoming more favorable to peace. The Khazate still hate us. Northern Empire, this is automatic, right? I mean, this is no question. This frees up our southern boundary. In fact, this will be like the last thing we do in this episode. All of that ass whipping with the Northern Empire. Criminal raiding. I forget, because he's raiding villages and executing people. That is a huge relief already, right? Because now our southern flank is largely clear. The Sturgeons, right, they still want a lot of money. The Valandians we don't care about. The Western Empire we don't care that much about. The Khazate one is what we care about, but we've been beating the shit out of the Khazate. They're obviously next tier. Makeb, I can just tell you right now, we have enough time to go from where we are now all the way to Amprella and then meet them at Makeb and devastate them. Now, if that means you don't want to watch the next episode, what I mean to say is it's going to be a very big challenge at Makeb. We might lose. There's a chance we don't make it there in time. It's going to be very dramatic. Yeah, you guys get the idea. We're going to wrap up this episode. Of course, if you want to enter episodes into this series, go ahead and submit them to the email. I'll take a look. If it's something that we haven't done before, if it's a unique challenge or something very difficult, and maybe we will accept it for this Disasters of War series. Send everything, right? Send difficult battles, anything that you think might be interesting. At worst, I'll say is we already have a couple battles that are just like that, and I'll pass on it. That said, of course, if you want to see more from this series, you want to see more from Bolat, the criminal massacre beheader of the enemy here. If you want to see more strategy, campaign, tactics, you want to subscribe, please hit that like button on the way out. And with all that said, friends, I will see you next time.